Good morning, everyone. The meeting of Talk Toastmasters Club 9523 is called to order. I would like to welcome everyone here this morning. We have our visitors from Dayton, which I'll introduce in a little bit, and welcome the viewing public and all of our members. We do have a few items of club business. Well, our welcome guest, Gary Mull, and his wife, Mary Ann Mull from Dayton, Ohio. Let us welcome Gary and Mary Ann. Our nomination committee report, do you want to come up here, Rick? Rick Davis will give us the recommendations for our slate of officers for the coming year. Rick Davis.
Thank you, Carol. I have been in email contact with everyone or spoken to them in person about the possible nominees for next year. Nominees include President Steve Ehrenholz, VP of Education Verna Gibson, VP of Membership is Joe Schwerling, VP of Public Relations is Ben Davis. A secretary is open, but I have a candidate and I haven't had a chance to ask her yet, but I will do that at the break. Treasurer Rick Davis, Sergeant-at-Arms Carol Kormelink, and our technical advisor Nellye Bishop. Madam President.
Thank you, Rick, and I'll have to get those again. I could not write that fast. But we will be voting at our next meeting on Monday, May the 3rd at Kenwood. Our last piece of business is next Saturday is the district conference that we will be attending, and we all will have, each club that is represented will have a vote on the business that is to come before the meeting. So we hope that everyone will be able to attend, and it should be a fun time. Our Toastmaster today, Ben Davis, has been, I've known him for a while, and I like all the things that Ben has been able to do. He is an advanced Toastmaster Gold and also a competent leader. He just has one more project to complete, and then he will be a distinguished Toastmaster. Let us welcome Ben Davis from Northern Kentucky.
Thank you very much, Carol. Welcome, everyone, to today's meeting. Thank you very much, those here in the studio, as well as those people watching at home. And I know that you are watching at home. A little story for everyone here in the audience. We had at least I had my first incident with someone who recognized me from TV. One of my coworkers came up, said, "Hey, I saw you on TV last night." I said, "You did?" He said, "Yes, I did." I said, "What was I doing?" He said, "Getting in the back of a police car." Then he changed his mind. "Oh, no, that was someone else. Sorry. Actually, it was you on TV giving a speech." So we are being seen, and it is being recognized. So wonderful. Thank you very much to our studio audience. Today, on the day of our taping, it's a beautiful spring day outside, which begs the question, why are you watching us? Get outside. Enjoy the day. The cicadas are coming. The cicadas are coming. But no. We are here today to have a wonderful meeting, and thank you very much for your attendance with us. I would like to introduce, first of all, our word power for the day. Our word power, again, is someone who will give us a word to help us stretch our vocabulary, something we should be able to use during our meeting this morning. I'd like to go ahead and welcome our word power master today, who is Mary Ann Mull, competent Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Our word up today is mulish. Mulish. An example of the use of the word mulish. Bob was mulish about correcting his grammar when it was brought to his attention even by the grammarian. Mulish, the word of the day.
I may have been accused of being mulish occasionally, but they're wrong. I'm just stubborn. We will now be continuing on into our speeches today, and it will be my pleasure to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker, who did not give me an introduction, therefore is subject to my tender mercies. And folks, I don't have a lot of tender mercies. No, I won't do that to her. Our first speaker is our technical advisor, Nellye Bishop. She will be speaking today on our technical theme, trying to help us to improve our ability to get our critical points together to help us operate as a team. It is my pleasure to introduce our technical advisor, someone without whom we would not be the group we are today, Nellye Bishop.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. He says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks,
Speaking in public is no joke.
doctor says, chicken says,
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
the chicken.
The next speaker on our agenda this morning will be Sheila Mudd Baker. I'll be presenting her, hang on here for just a second. Objectives. I will be presenting her objectives for her. She'll be speaking today from the Advanced Communication and Leadership Program Public Relations Manual, speech number 4, Speaking Under Fire. Her objectives are to prepare a talk to persuade a hostile audience at least to consider her position on a controversial issue. She'll also be conducting a question and answer period on the speech subject. The times for our timer are 6 to 8 minutes for the presentation itself and 8 to 10 minutes for the question and answer period. For our at-home audience and for our speaker, the background for this presentation is as follows. The speaker is the headmistress of a new charter school which is to open in September. The school is grades 9 through 12. The audience is a mixed group of teachers, leaders, reporters, citizens, and ministers who live in the community, which is Yellow Springs, Ohio. They are reacting to the negative connotations attached to the name Machiavelli. Her title, The Machiavelli School. Sheila Mudd Baker, The Machiavelli School.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that the state of Ohio has agreed that we can open our new Machiavelli School, a charter school, here in Yellow Springs, Ohio. We are thrilled to open this high school of leadership in this fabulous community. Yellow Springs, as we all know, is the center of leadership and intellectual activity in this part of Ohio. We believe that the children of this community deserve an even finer education than they already receive. And this is an alternative school, a charter school, for those children whose parents believe have real leadership qualities. Now, of course, like me, my children, of course, are going to be great leaders. But sometimes we know when our children are very small that our children are destined to be great leaders. And that is what this school is about. The Machiavelli School will begin its first classes for freshmen, that's 9th grade, this September. And we will start immediately after Labor Day, which will be Tuesday after Labor Day. And we are thrilled to say that we will follow the principles of my ancestor, the great philosopher, researcher, and historian, Machiavelli, who's known simply by his last name because he was the greatest of all soldiers, statesmen, leaders 500 years ago in Florence. And we find that those same principles that he discovered still work today, that great leaders in all aspects of society are able to take the principles given by Signor Machiavelli and create even greater effects. Anyone who wants to run their own business, who wants to become a military or governmental leader, who wants to lead a community, would be welcome to enroll themselves. And we are assuming that ninth graders already know what they want to be when they grow up. Believe it or not, despite what parents think, children really do know, especially children who are geared to leadership. The school will start with the freshman year. Each year we will add an additional year. And as I said, the first grade will be ninth grade. Next year we will have ninth and 10th grade. We will continue until we have our first class graduating. So I am very, very excited to say that this school, which will be located in the old Hayes Elementary School for the first 2 years, this school will provide genuine training, leadership training in history, mathematics, science, social studies, the full range. It will be an academically difficult program, very, very difficult. We will expect that those who finish in this school will be able to go to the finest colleges in the United States and in Europe, that it will be assumed that all of them will be able to operate at the international baccalaureate level, and every one of them is expected to go on into leadership on a worldwide basis, because we realize that the world is becoming much more global and that leaders are needed in every aspect of our society. And we hope that this community will take us to your hearts once you realize what benefits it will give to Yellow Springs, Ohio, bringing an even greater reputation to this area as an academically fabulous preparatory school. We believe that this new school will offer what no other school in America offers, the chance to develop leadership at every level, spiritual, emotional, physical, etc., all of those levels in high school children, so that by the time they graduate from high school, they are ready to take the academic courses that they need to really promote the leadership that we are going to foster. Now, I recognize that many people here are concerned about the school being in Yellow Springs. Yellow Springs is a wonderful community, and I went to school here as an undergraduate at Antioch College in secondary education. That was my very first degree, and I believe that it gave me a very good foundation on what is important. So I know that some of you have questions, and I would like to entertain questions. Is there anyone here who has any questions for me?
Yes, I do. Jack Austin, WFKE. It's been widely publicized that the Machiavelli School is going to have gambling as part of its curriculum. Are you going to take the students to casinos, or what are you going to do there?
Well, that's an interesting rumor. No, we are not going to go to casinos. I do understand where that rumor might come from. If you have read our curriculum, you probably saw a class that is called Bridge and Poker. And actually that is a mathematical class. It is a probability class. There are several things that we hope to get from this class. One is for our students to learn probability. 2, that our students learn strategy. And 3, that they learn how to communicate when they don't have all the information they need to make final decisions. Those 3 things we have found all over this country, that leaders such as the head of Microsoft and great generals often play bridge or poker, and do it often because it promotes strategy, it promotes communication in difficult times, and it makes them realize that sometimes fortune is out of their control. So if there's another question, I hope I allayed your fears that we might be having gambling. There will be no football pools on our campus.
Yes, I have a question. I've been told that part of the philosophy of your school is that young men and young women should be segregated and that the sexes should not cross paths. Why are you promoting sexism?
Well, we're not promoting sexism. What we are promoting is the best possible education for our young men and young women. 500 years ago, my ancestor, Signor Machiavelli, discovered that young men and young women academically do best when they are in classrooms of the same sex. They have exactly the same classes, exactly the same teachers. When they are in that age range of 9 to 18, as we well know, life is a little confusing because of hormonal imbalances, and that young people get distracted from the academics, they get distracted from their goals. We will have exactly the same classes for young men and young women, but we will keep the classes segregated. We're not going to keep, of course, the social activities, the club activities segregated, but only the classes segregated to promote academic excellence for all children. Any other questions?
Yes. Nellye Bowen, the Claremont Challenger newspaper. My question is, it seems to me your school is a military school, and you're, instead of promoting leadership, you're teaching them military skills. And because of this, will you allow weapons on campus? My next part of the question is, with our concealed carry law now in effect, how will you know whether they have weapons or not?
Well, that is a good question. We do, of course, promote a lot of the military discipline. That is, that we believe that young people need that kind of discipline. As far as weapons go, the only weapons we, of course, will have on campus, we will have a team, a shooting team, and they will do rifle practice, etc., because we believe that we need to hone those skills, not necessarily for shooting, but for the discipline involved, the competition, and we hope that some of those young people will be able to win scholarships based on that particular thing or go on to the Olympics. But as far as weapons go, hidden weapons, well, we don't want to be in a position of screening every child coming in, but we recognize that all campuses have danger. And one of the dangers we see in all schools is the use of weapons. So in the interest of security, at like every other public high school in America, and the private schools too, we will have metal detectors set at all doors so that no knives, no guns, no weapons will be allowed in the school, and that's to promote the safety and security of our students. We have no intention of allowing our students to be harmed on campus. No hidden weapons are allowed for those under 18, so no one should be carrying a hidden weapon into our campus. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question for you. This is Clarence Darrow speaking, and I would like to know why you are opening a right-wing, extremist, militaristic training ground for children in Yellow Springs, which is the heart of liberal, intellectual activity in Ohio.
Well, because this is the heart of liberal, intellectual Ohio, and because Yellow Springs is known for its flexibility, we believe this is an ideal place for such a school. Yellow Springs has the highest per capita education in the United States. Literally. There are more PhDs per square inch in Yellow Springs than any other town in America. Secondly, this entire town is devoted to intellectual curiosity, to research, to thinking, and we wish to offer an alternative source of schooling because Yellow Springs itself, with Antioch College, offered alternative thinking to start with. We are not promoting a militaristic, sexist, etc. Point of view. We are promoting a practical point of view that says, in a world that is fraught with so many dangers, as it always has been, just as it was 500 years ago when my ancestor first promoted these concepts, that our young people have to be ready for change. They have to be willing to understand that some things they can't help, they can't fix. They have to be willing to take charge and to be courageous. They have to learn to deny themselves for the betterment of their organization, whether it's their community, their school, their company, their church, whatever kind of leadership that they're going to take on, that they have to be willing to take the lumps that come with real leadership. When you're a real leader, sometimes you even have to sacrifice yourself. And we want people who are willing to be so courageous that they will do whatever is necessary to promote the good of the whole. And it's the good of the whole that Yellow Springs was set up to foster. The city of Yellow Springs, as you all know, because you've been here for so long, was originally created to promote health, peace, care, and community. And we want the same thing. Peace, unfortunately, is a fleeting thing. And whether in peace or war, we want to help young people learn what it is to promote peace when peace is appropriate, to work with war when they have to and they have no choice, just as we did in 9/11, and to know the differences between peace and war, to know the differences between the times when life is so difficult they must make hard choices and sometimes cause pain to themselves and others, and on the other hand, to know that it is the common good that is important. And our school will promote that. So I want all of you to think about what you want for your own children, what you want for your grandchildren, what you want for your neighbors' children, and realize that maybe one of the things that you want is a future leader to come out of this school, to come into your community, who can help you make those hard choices, who will keep in mind all that is important to the community, and who cares genuinely about the greater good and the overall goodness and life of the community. And I hope that there aren't any more questions, because it looks like our time is about up. But I think if anybody else has an extra question, that would be great. I'd be happy to talk about it. I do want to say one more thing. Our tuition, we do have tuition, even though it's a public school. It's very, very reasonable, and we do offer scholarships so that all students, on the basis of their individual ability and merit, can enter. So this isn't the school just for the rich, just for those who are fortunate enough to have 2 incomes in their family. This is a school for all children who have the basic talents needed. Thank you very much.
Fellow Toastmasters and our welcome guests, and especially those of you in the viewing audience at home, I'm Gary Mull, Distinguished Toastmaster and Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training for the district. I'm also visiting from Dayton here at the TV Toastmasters, and my guest today is Advanced Toastmaster Joe Schwerling. Joe has been a longtime Toastmaster, has served in several positions in the club, and he is going to talk to us a little bit today about Toastmasters, which makes perfect sense. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Glad to be here today.
Well, Joe, as a visiting Toastmaster from Dayton, I've certainly received a warm welcome here in the TV Toastmasters. And I'd like you to tell me just a little bit about the TV Toastmasters, where you meet, and some of the things that you do in your club meeting.
Well, our TV Toastmasters Club here, we just formed just about a year ago, although we've been meeting for a couple of years before that to achieve a critical mass of membership so that we could put on a better presentation. We hold 2 meetings every month. On the 3rd Saturday of each month at the Anderson Union Community Television Cable System on Beachmont Avenue. We meet that morning and do a televised presentation in the studio, which is what we're doing today. And on the first Monday of the month, we meet at a Good Shepherd's Lutheran Church in Kenwood to hold an evening meeting. That one isn't televised unless we bring a portable camera. But we have 2 opportunities every month, both to, and primarily with the Saturday morning, when this one being to enhance and learn the technical aspects of the studio and television presentation.
That sounds exciting. What if I've never worked on television before? What kind of things do you do in the program to get me acclimated to that studio environment?
Well, for one thing, we get used to sitting in front of the bright lights, and now, as Nikki mentioned earlier, we are getting into use of multiple cameras where you can have different angled shots, and we do editing of it after the meeting, so that facilitates presenting a more refined presentation when it actually goes out on the cable system.
Sounds exciting. Now, how does this differ from a standard Toastmasters meeting? What kind of elements do you use to get people interested in how to speak more gooder, as they say, in the Toastmasters vernacular?
Well, within the club, the meeting itself, it's basically the same as virtually all other Toastmasters clubs. The difference being that, again, as was mentioned in the technical portion of our meeting, we have the opportunity to participate and learn by being both in front of and behind the camera, and the coordination that's involved in all that.
Now, do I have to make advance reservations to come in? Can I wander in off the street? What criteria do I have? Do I have to wear a tie when I come to your Toastmasters club?
Well, just as with Toastmasters clubs everywhere, unless it's inside of a prison or a high security corporation, visitors are always welcome, need not be Toastmasters, and so all guests are welcome to visit, and all guests and visitors are welcome to join at any time.
Well, that sounds nice. I try my best to stay out of the prison clubs, just as a general rule. Although I have visited, that's always nice. They put on a great show there, too. Tell us, for the folks back at home, tell us about the meeting structure itself. How does that facilitate, and what are the goals of the meeting structure?
During our meetings, we have a Toastmaster. We have 1, 2, or 3 speakers typically. Most speeches are in the 5 to 7 minute range, with an evaluator that speaks for 2 to 3 minutes to give specific feedback to the speaker on specific areas to improve, plus positive feedback to reinforce and help us overcome our shyness and our twisted tongues just by getting used to the repetitive situation. And a lot of times there are an odd counter, grammarian, word of the day, besides being Toastmaster of the entire meeting, and a general evaluator that evaluates the entire meeting.
Sounds good. Now, you speak to each other and you evaluate the speech, give each other feedback for improvement, things of that nature in the meeting?
Yes. The Toastmasters is a mutual support group. We're all here to help each other, to make each other feel comfortable during our presentations. And everyone has their own personal goals. Some, such as myself when I started, was just to overcome shyness and build self-confidence. Others want to go all the way to the top and become the world champion of Toastmasters. Some become professional speakers and do professional speaking in their training, which I'm aware that you do, Gary. But most people, beyond the self-confidence building, just want to improve their communication with their family, during church, the opportunity to serve other service clubs or their local government outside their anything else in their personal life where communication is a benefit to everyone.
That's great. Now, you mentioned community service. Are there a lot of opportunities for Toastmasters to get involved with community service and use the skills that you teach in the club?
Well, I like to think of Toastmasters as kind of among other things, a service club for the service clubs. The various service clubs that have specific community functions, their officers and membership, I'm convinced, are much better able to perform their functions and to lead their activities, the coordination, when they've had the opportunity to be able to enhance their communication and leadership skills in the Toastmasters environment.
That sounds great. You keep coming back to leadership. I understand. I see by your badge that you're also a past division governor. So there are leadership opportunities within Toastmasters that we can also develop those skills?
Yes. Within each Toastmasters club, you have 7 officers ranging from sergeant at arms, secretary treasurer, several vice presidents, and the president of the club. So we had the opportunity to learn those leadership roles in the club. And then beyond that, the next step is to be an area governor where you're overseeing 4 to 7 clubs that are geographically or in other ways grouped for where the district can help accomplish those areas to best serve their members. Similarly, there's a division structure where a division governor oversees several area governors, and each of those levels also serves as a kind of a qualification round when you have seasonal contests in Toastmasters. In the spring and in the fall, contests of a couple different types are held, and the competition goes through each level up to a district, which in our case, our district includes 2/3 of Ohio, plus the eastern and northern half of Kentucky, and about 2/3 of West Virginia. And then from the district level, we're part of a region that includes 8 states, plus eight districts, which include part of Canada, Ontario, and Quebec, New York State, Pennsylvania, and everything to Kentucky. And then ultimately to the international level, which their convention and world championship contests change every year.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of work involved in being a leader in the district. What's the salary for a division governor?
The salary is everything you can accumulate mentally. There's no direct financial rewards. Obviously, those that go on to enhance their career in whatever fashion will gain. But mostly you have the social and just the personal benefits that you've gained by being able to perform better in your job and so on.
Well, I can tell just by being here today, you meet an awfully lot of nice people, so that's certainly a reward as well. For those of you that are at home, I think Joe would probably like to tell you a little bit about the best reason to join the Toastmasters program. Tell us about that, Joe.
Well, in my case, I've been single all my life, so I've acquired an enormous family of Toastmasters out there. During the last couple of years before I retired from the government, or for the 10 years prior to retiring, I had been able to visit several hundred different clubs, and I consider them all my family. In fact, I consider every Toastmasters meeting to be a reunion of the members in that club, and we exchange stories about each other, and that's a family and that's a reunion. That's the way I think of Toastmasters. And we're all there to help each other.
Hey, that sounds great. How has it helped you in your career-wise and also in your personal life?
Well, my personal life is just a matter of, now that I have a stronger sense of accomplishment from what I've been able to do subsequent retirement. So.
Well, it sounds great. It's certainly been our pleasure to have you here today. One final thing before we conclude. For those in the viewing audience, if you tell them how they can find a Toastmasters club, and if they want to join, what are the procedures for doing that?
Thank you, Gary. The best way to find Toastmasters currently is to check the internet under toastmasters.org. They have a listing under Find a Club where you can find any club in the world just by going through state, city, and so on. And even the Sunday Inquirer in Cincinnati lists many of the Toastmasters clubs. So the Toastmasters is there, and as a quotation I've heard said, if you stay in Toastmasters, get as much out of Toastmasters as long as, getting the quotation backwards, but you can get as much out of Toastmasters that you want as long as you stay in Toastmasters.
Well, that's great. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And I hope all of you in the viewing audience will visit a Toastmasters club near you. Thank you.
Now we come to that portion of our meeting where we give a couple of our members the opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking skills. This is what we call our Tabletopics portion of the meeting. This is actually one of the ways that Toastmasters originally began, a group of men sitting around asking each other questions and then listening to the answers. Today, our Tabletopics master will be Nellye Bowen, competent Toastmaster. Nellye.
This is a part of Toastmasters I really enjoy the most. You have to think on your feet, think quick. And it's fun, too. My question today is this. We've been through winter. Everything is looking so beautiful for spring. And now people's thoughts are turning toward their upcoming vacations later. You have just been named the top national salesman for your company. You get a 2 weeks vacation anywhere in the world. Where would you like to go and why? Ben?
2 weeks vacation for being the national salesperson of my company. Where would I go and why? Well, anybody who knows me knows that I'd probably be going to Boston because that's where my company's headquarters is, and they don't give you a lot of choice about where else you can go. But if I had my choice, if I had my druthers, I would probably spend 2 weeks in Europe. Something that I did many years ago as a senior in high school was visit France for 2 weeks. Spent most of it in the Normandy region in the northern part of France, where it was very beautiful and very, very cold in the spring. So I'd like to visit some of the warmer climes, things like the Mediterranean, go down to the French Riviera perhaps. Maybe spend a little time also in England, where it would be a little bit colder, see the castles, review the history, and work my way over into Eastern Europe as well, with the newly freed countries. Well, not so new anymore, I guess, but to be able to see the history there that we really haven't been able to experience for so many years. So if I had the opportunity to travel anywhere I wanted for 2 weeks, I would take that trip to Europe and enjoy myself immensely. Madam Topic Master.
Thank you, Jim. You've planned a vacation to Bermuda. You've looked forward to this all year, and now your vacation date can't be changed, and there's just been a hurricane. It's not only in the Caribbean, it's spread to Florida, through the Texas area. Now, your flight is set, everything's ready to go. What do you do now? Verna, you're the traveler in our group. What would you do?
Well, Nellye, this is a tough one. I'm not sure what I could do other than to cancel my trip and stay home, and I would hope that I would have bought travel insurance so that I could go on this trip or a different trip at another time. But other than that, I'm not going to travel off to Bermuda during a hurricane. I do know that, and I've been to Bermuda once actually. But I think anymore though, my sister had a problem. They went on a trip and her husband got sick, but she had not bought travel insurance. So they did end up with a lot of extra expense when he had to fly himself home. So I guess if I've got this trip to Bermuda, the only thing I can hope is that I have remembered to buy my travel insurance, and I will take a trip next year, I guess, if this is my only 2-week vacation. So I guess that's all that I could do.
Thank you very much for those questions, Nellye. Now we're going to move into the portion of our meeting that may be called, in my opinion, the most important part of any Toastmasters meeting, and that's dealing with the evaluations. Because we can speak and speak and speak again, but unless we actually get some helpful feedback as to how we can improve, we're just relearning the same old bad habits. And to run this portion of our meeting, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator. Our general evaluator's role is to actually evaluate the meeting as a whole and the evaluators in specific. So she will be introducing them to us and seeing how they do. That today will be competent Toastmaster Verna Gibson. Verna.
Toastmaster. Well, Carol called the meeting to order at 9:40. Ben Davis, you mentioned that you were recognized on TV, and that is quite an honor. But I must tell you, Ben, that I have had 3 or 4 people to tell me that they have seen me on TV. So I have quite a growing fan club. But it is nice to know that people do watch this program, and my impression is that they enjoy it. I also need to extend my welcome and thanks to Gary and Marion Mull for being here today, attending our meeting. Now, we had 3 speakers today, Nikki, Sheila, and Joe, with wonderful and informative speeches. To evaluate Nikki, I'd like to call Rick Davis to the lectern. Rick Davis.
Thank you, Verna. Nikki gave a broadcast talk, but for those of us who are here, and I'm glad that it was taped, because I think this would be a very useful thing to provide individuals who are new to the club, someone who's coming into the club. I think if we could put all of her little talks together, I think that'd be a very useful thing for people to be able to look at. It was a nice technical presentation. She was not nervous at all. The nice thing about Nikki is she really knows her stuff. She has a lot of experience in television. She did do a little bit of weaving back and forth, and that might have been a little bit disruptive to the camera people. But it was not real noticeable just here in the audience. Her talk was well organized. She did sort of run out of time. She thought she was only going to take 15 minutes, and she took more long 17 or 18 minutes, but she was very well organized, and I look forward to hearing future talks by Nikki Bishop.
Thank you, Rick. That was a very useful and informative evaluation. One of the purposes of evaluation is not just to point out everything that a person did, all of a person's good points, but to also make some suggestions for improvement. And Rick did include a couple of suggestions in his evaluation, which I'm sure would be very useful. Now, at this time, I would like to ask Jerome Manigan to come up, and he will be evaluating Sheila.
Sheila, every presentation that I have witnessed coming from you has been excellent, and so is the case with today's presentation. It indicated effective preparation, including depth of thought, logical flow, and awareness of audience expectations and the need to satisfy objectives of this project. It is for those reasons that I have very much enjoyed your presentation, The Machiavelli School. In under 14 minutes, you effectively presented and supported the goals of the Machiavelli School. And without once becoming mulish, you responded to questions that could have promoted acrimony, hostility, and bitterness. From the very beginning, it was obvious that you had the press conference under your control. Your posture, tone of voice, gestures, voice inflections indicated that this was your moment. You were able to lift the level of discussion, show the opposition a new way of viewing your side, allied with positive symbols, and you were able to tactfully refute the opposition. Questions that I was asked to consider are, how effectively did the speaker use logic in support of his/her viewpoint? How effective was emotion woven in? I think you did an excellent job of weaving in emotion. Anytime you talk to people about their children, I mean, how much more emotional can you get? You were excellent in several instances of saying to parents and those in attendance at the press conference, those children who have parents who believe that they are destined to great leadership, but so forth and so on. I don't know your exact words, but that idea was conveyed. Would the speaker's approach generally tend to lessen an audience Hostility. Yes, you were not abrasive. You talked about the benefits to parents, students, residents. I think that you did an excellent job in bringing the audience to your point of view. Assuming you were initially opposed to the speaker's position, how would you feel after the presentation? Supportive. Were the questions answered skillfully? Yes. Excellent answers with illustrations. I remember your illustration of bridge and poker and how that was really an opportunity to teach probability. Judging from the speech and answers to questions, how well prepared did the speaker seem to be? Very well prepared, knowledgeable, effectively used educational jargon. Your presentation was excellent.
Thank you, Jerome. Very good evaluation for Sheila, and Sheila definitely deserves all of those good words. At this time, I would like to ask Carol Cormalik to come up, and she will be evaluating Joe's speech. Carol.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and our viewing audience, and especially, where's Joe? Oh, Joe's camera. Especially Joe. I thought that you were a great talk show host talking about something that you know very well. And how did I know that you know that well? Because we call you Mr. Toastmaster. You were very prepared because you always are talking about Toastmasters. Your telephone, when you answer that, has Toastmasters on it. Your presentation today, I viewed it with that you were enthusiastic, and I like that sincere smile in your voice that you had when you were answering the questions, that little smile that you have. I think that's attractive and would help people want to be part of it. I thought your appearance enhanced the presentation. You had your suit coat and your tie, and I think that always looks better on TV when you're dressed a little more formal. On a real talk show, I believe the phone would probably be ringing with people wanting more information on Toastmasters. One of the things I did notice that I did get a little bit lost where you were talking about service clubs. I must have been writing or something because I didn't quite get that, but that could have been a little clearer. And I'm not sure if the leadership levels as presented would have been comprehended by people who were not in Toastmasters. I understand what you're saying because I'm aware of that, but I don't know if someone outside of Toastmasters would have been aware of the different levels of communication and leadership that we have. The best reason to join the family of Toastmasters, I would like to add one little thing that you might have asked about a story and antidote. You might have said about Mark that his icebreaker speech was not his best speech, but it was certainly his most productive because his future wife was in the audience and liked what she heard. And they are now married. And I know several people like that. So you might have mentioned that as a little antidote that you could have viewed in there. And if you're going to have a quote, if you don't remember it, then it would be good if you had it written out, because the quote, if you get out of Toastmasters all that you can get out of Toastmasters, you will never get out of Toastmasters. And I know that you are a lifetime Toastmaster. I'm going to be a lifetime Toastmaster. So I know that this was a good presentation for you. I thought you did it well. You were well prepared. And it was the perfect topic for Mr. Talk Show host, Mr. Toastmaster, Joe Schwerling.
Thank you, Carol. At this time, I would like to ask our all-counter grammarian, Marianne Mall, to come up and give us her report.
Thank you, Vera. Fellow Toastmasters. The Grammarian All Master has the most exciting part of the meeting for Toastmasters. We have the most fun. We're able to give you actually constructive criticism. And with this, I'm hoping that will help all of the speakers and all of the members of our meeting today a chance to practice their speaking a little bit better and be able to use whatever I'm about to say for fellow meetings. Gary Mall. Double clutches. I, you, as. I counted 2. I, try my best. In the viewing audience. Joe Schwerling. Your area that you need to particularly pay attention to would be us. I counted over 10. 1. As, which would be a double clutch. 1. And 1, wanna. Carol Cormalik. No ums, ahs, ers. No pauses to get your thoughts in order. Sheila Mudd Baker. Very accurate grammar. Very clear, clean diction. Great speaker. Ben Davis. Do we wanna correct the quote, referring to the speaker's comment? Other than that, I found no other errors. Very good speaking voice, I might add. Vera. During table topics, 3 ums and 3 us. Nellye. During table topics, no errors. Very nice. Jerome. During the evaluation for Sheila, I want to say that you have a great speaking voice and such clarity in your diction. You did use the word of the day, mulish. Thank you. I had 1 double clutch, and there was an unusual one, is ah. Rick Davis, 1 Not was real noticeable, and Nikki Bishop, several us and 3 double clutches. No one used the dropping of the word ending by dropping a G today. Thank you. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Mary Ann. At this time, I would like to ask Rick Davis to come up and give us his timers report. Rick Davis.
All right. Timing today. Nikki Bishop was supposed to do 10 to 15 minutes. She did 17 minutes, 30 seconds. Sheila Mudd Baker was supposed to do a 6-minute speech. She asked me to keep it to 6 minutes and 8 minutes for the 2 segments. She went 5 minutes, 58 seconds for the first segment and 7 minutes and 40 seconds for the second. So she was right on time. Joe Schwerling, 10 minutes plus or minus 30 seconds. He was 10 minutes, 55 seconds. Nellye Bowen, Ben in his table topics was supposed to go 2 minutes, 30 seconds. He went 1 minute and 2 seconds, which is fine. He was way under the maximum. And Verna was 2 to 3 minutes, actually 2 minutes, 30 seconds. She was 1 minute and 6 seconds. Evaluator for Nikki Rick Davis, 1 minute and 20 seconds. Evaluator for Sheila, Jerome Madigan was 3 minutes and 23 seconds. And Carol's evaluation of Joe Schwerling was 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And Mary Ann's all-counter grammarian report was supposed to be 2 minutes and 30 seconds. She went 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So we were very close on our timing today, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Rick. Well, I think the meeting has gone very well today. We have, I believe, 11 members here and 2 guests. That's very good attendance. Everything has gone very smoothly. Everybody has been well prepared. We had great speeches with very, very helpful evaluations. Ben Davis did an excellent job as Toastmaster. I believe our meeting has run just slightly over an hour. So at this time, having said that, I think I will turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Ben Davis.
Thank you, Verna. And thus we come to the end of another TV Toastmasters meeting. I would like to take just a moment, if I will be indulged, to share a quick story with you and with our studio audience. 2 weeks ago today, I lost a grandmother. And that next week, I flew out to Virginia for the funeral. The day before the funeral, I was asked to please read an essay that my sister, who is a news editor for our local hometown paper, to read her editorial, which was about my grandmother, at the funeral. And I was prepared to do so. That evening, due to family dynamics, and I think we all know what family dynamics are like, I wound up being asked to give the thoughts of everyone else because no one else was going to be able to give any kind of a presentation. So after speaking to people the next day, up to 15 minutes before the funeral, I put together a presentation. It lasted 8 minutes and was, in effect, the eulogy. Didn't break down, not at once, and I smiled throughout. I told everyone it was easy. All I had to do was remember my grandmother standing behind me and think what she would have said to me had I flubbed it. But let's be honest. I could not have done what I had done were it not for this club and others just like it. I offer a thanks to everyone here and to everyone in Toastmasters for the development that you have given me. And I extend an invitation to those who have not given Toastmasters a try to come in and see what it's like. A eulogy is not a fun baptism of fire, but some people may have to do it. As well, giving toasts at weddings, perhaps presentations at your job, any of these will require improved speaking ability. We offer you a venue and helpful feedback to improve. Please come and join us. Check us out at www.toastmasters.org, or if you'd like the local clubs, www.d40toastmasters.org. Thank you for your attendance today, and I will return control to our president.
Thank you, Ben, for that touching story, and I have heard that it has helped people when they've had to do that they were able to give a talk at a funeral. So I appreciate your sharing that with us. I think we had a great meeting. I appreciate everyone being here. I don't know if we have any other things to bring up, but if not, I will call the meeting adjourned.